Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're getting right into the weeds of a crucial but honestly often misunderstood tool in the financial toolkit. We're talking corporate actions. Specifically, we're unpacking the actual operational mechanics of what an option is to a shareholder. So let's jump right in. Picture this. You log into your brokerage account on, say, a random Tuesday. You're expecting that standard run-of-the-mill dividend notification. But instead, you see something entirely different, a request for instructions. You might think, wait, is the company actually asking my permission? Well, in a very real way, they are. They aren't barking an order at you. They're actually offering you a choice. It's basically a sudden fork in the road that literally wasn't there yesterday. All of a sudden, you have to make a call about your assets. In the complex world of global financial operations, this sudden appearance of a choice is what we call an option. For the shareholder, it's the ultimate power tool. It's that exact moment where you grab the wheel and directly dictate how your investment is handled. All right, Section 1, the hotel upgrade analogy, rethinking options. So at its absolute core, a financial option is a right, but not an obligation to take a specific action. The real tension here? It's right there in those two opposing words, right and obligation. Look, in a financial contract, when you hold an option, the ball is entirely in your court. You have the right to do something, meaning you're legally cleared to do it, but you are absolutely not forced to. It's a choice, not a mandate from the issuer. Think of buying a traditional share of stock, kind of like booking a standard hotel room, right? You own it, your stay is locked in, and you know exactly what you're getting. An option, on the other hand, is like getting to the check-in desk and suddenly being handed a surprise upgrade voucher. It's this extra piece of paper that gives you a totally new choice regarding the room you already booked. And this upgrade voucher, it mirrors financial options perfectly. You've got the right to use the voucher to bump up to a fancy suite, maybe for a small fee. But hey, if you love your standard room, you can just stay put. Ignore the voucher completely. There is absolutely zero obligation to move. But, and here's the catch, the voucher has an expiration date. The choice is 100% yours, but only until a very specific, high-stakes deadline hits. Once that clock runs out, poof, the voucher's worthless. Which brings us to Section 2, the two flavors of choice. Out there in the back-office world of asset servicing, corporate actions with options usually boil down to two main categories. First, you have mandatory with options. This means you must participate, you can't just sit it out, but you do get to pick your reward. And second, we have voluntary events. Here, participation is totally up to you. You can engage, or you can literally just walk away without a single penalty. A classic example of that mandatory event is an optional dividend. When a company declares this, they are distributing profits, right? So you are getting a dividend no matter what. You're forced into the event. But the option part gives you the power to pick the actual payout. Do you want it in cold hard cash, or do you want additional shares of stock? You absolutely have to choose one, but the specific choice is yours. Now, let's contrast that with an entirely voluntary event, a rights issue. This is where it gets really interesting. In a rights issue, the company gives you, the existing shareholder, the specific right to buy brand new shares, usually at a pretty steep discount to the current market price. Just like we defined earlier, this is a right, not an obligation. You can scoop up those discounted shares, or you can completely ignore the whole thing. Participation is entirely voluntary. Your call. Moving on to Section 3, the trap and the clock. Okay, so what actually happens if you just do nothing? Well, you fall into the default option. This is the automatic outcome, essentially getting stuck in your standard room if the broker receives no instructions from you. Now, this default option can act as a safety net, sure, but depending on the scenario, it can easily turn into a trap if you aren't paying close attention. Because doing nothing is, in fact, a choice, and it leads to wildly different outcomes. Let's say you ignore an optional dividend. You'll typically just get cash by default. Simple enough. But ignore a rights issue, and the default is usually no action, which means your right to buy those discounted shares just evaporates. It expires worthless. If those rights actually held value, falling into that default means you quite literally left money on the table. To successfully claim that metaphorical suite upgrade, you have to navigate the core operational hurdle, instruction processing. Step 1, identify your non-default choice. Figure out what you actually want. Step 2, communicate that election decision clearly to your broker or custodian. And step 3, honestly, the absolute most critical part, you have to beat the cutoff time. Behind the scenes, it is a massive race against a ticking clock. Days before the event, you make your election decision. Then comes the cutoff hour for instruction processing, where your broker is scrambling to gather all the client choices. Finally, we hit the expiration, often called the issuer's deadline. And let me tell you, this issuer deadline is the most feared date in the back office. It is the exact moment where the magic and the massive risk happens. Once that deadline hits, the window slams shut, the doors lock for good, and any uninstructed shares instantly fall straight into the default option. To truly grasp the gravity of that deadline, missing it is often referred to in the industry as a multi-million-dollar mistake. Seriously, this highlights the unbelievable risk operations teams deal with every single day. If a back office team misses the cutoff for client's choice on a rights issue by literally a few minutes, the fallout can be catastrophic. Think about it. If the client wanted to buy those discounted shares and the firm missed the deadline, the firm might have to go out into the open market and buy those exact shares at a much higher price just to make the client whole. It is a crazy high-stakes environment. Every single minute counts. Let's bring it all together in Section 4, from passive to active.
Look, you can always choose to be a passive owner. But if you ignore your options, you'll always be trapped in the default option, which usually means missing out on optimal returns. Mastering this concept, however, allows you to become an active decision maker by understanding that you hold a right without an obligation, and by deeply respecting those crucial issuer deadlines, you can strategically exercise your rights. You maximize your financial opportunities, whether that's taking stock over cash or buying into a highly valuable rights issue.
Which leaves us with one final question for you. Are you ready to steer the DNA of your portfolio? Because at the end of the day, that is exactly what an option is. It's your opportunity to take absolute control over your assets. Now that you've got a handle on the hidden mechanics of corporate actions, you know that an instruction request isn't just annoying paperwork. It is a valuable hotel upgrade voucher just waiting to be used. Don't let your choices expire by default. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay active, and we'll see you next time.